Welcome to Letter to Louie with Abby Algiers. Welcome back, Abby.
Thanks, Sally.
You have sent me the next letter that you'd like to read, and it really delves into how summer is and can be in your youth and as you get older.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and read that.
All right, great.
What's up?
The River. Dear Louie, a memory of the time long ago when we were young. One of the constants, but not one of the major elements or features of Hartford, has been and is the Rubicon River. In 1935, the WPA built attractive stone buildings for events and storage. The river was widened as a swimming hole and wading pond. In today's standard, the pond would be a mud hole. But in 1935, it was a charming swimming hole where we would congregate for summer afternoons. There, under the tutelage of Mrs. Ulrich, a recreational program was held. Most of the attendants were kindly leaders, untrained but attentive and inventive. Running races, baseball games, playing on the swings, climbing ladders and trees, sunning on the banks, all were activities of summer. There was no vandalism. The kids were happy, naive, and unconcerned. There was much to be concerned about, if we had to be concerned. The employment rate was low. The unemployment rate was 20%. Government programs employed many. Parks were built, streets were conditioned, libraries were built, and local and state parks were developed. The CCC program trained young men under a quasi-military program and helped maintain a semblance of order and control. The unemployed took whatever work could be found on the farms, in local industries which had orders, and for the county programs. Men who had worked for the larger plants were without work, and in Hartford it meant that the Kissel workers were without jobs. General assistance programs distributed foodstuff once a week, consisting of pork and beans, grits, potatoes, flour, and sugar. The staples were given on receipt of invoices obtained from the county offices. I remember pulling a wagon, on only one occasion, to the city hall, and dragging it home alone and under the eyes of all of our friends. I walked barefoot. We had no money for summer shoes. In the spring, the river would flood, wash out the footbridges, and we would float the bridges all the way to Rubicon, a distance of 5 miles. There we would abandon the bridge and walk the tracks back home, barefoot. Feet were tough, calloused, and dirty. My folks never knew of the adventures, nor did they know of the occasional vandalism. The Kissel Car Company had been closed, shut down, and boarded up. It became the target of resentment for the families of the unemployed auto workers. One day, my cousin Dick and I were walking along the river bank adjacent to the Kissel Company when he observed that those rich bastards had no right to fire his father. It so happened that the path was a gravel path, and stones were at hand. One stone was thrown for distance, one stone for height, and soon one window in the plant was broken. Soon another, and at the end of the exercise, 28 panes were broken. For years, the dastardly prank remained a mystery, and until now it has been a mystery, known only to Dick and I, and the reason known only to Dick and I. Even kids lose self-esteem and hope when unemployment is common. But getting back to the river. To the north and west of West Park Ball Diamond was an area of 40 or so acres of poor farmland. We lived on the north side of Hartford, and on Sunday afternoons during the summer, I would run down to the park, along a path through the farmland, over the footbridge to the ballpark. I would stop on the bridge to catch my breath and look for fish. In the early years, fish would swim in the river, but later there were no fish, just slime under the bridge. The local tannery and cannery and the outboard motor company took care of the fish. The combined oils and toxins removed more fish than all the illegal springtime spear fishing of the local boys. Nothing was alive in the river, but there was much activity in the park. We lived on the north side. My cousin lived on the south side. He was left-handed, I was right-handed. He played the outfield, and I played shortstop in our pickup teams. He organized a better team of Southsiders. I organized a thinking team of Northsiders. We played pickup games on the hardball diamond. They won most of the time. The diamond had been built in the 1920s when the Common Council bought 80 acres and built a ballpark. The outfield was lined with rows of trees between the diamond and the highway. Each tree was dedicated to a member of the armed forces who had fought in World War I. They still stand today, but most have been replanted as death has taken the original trees, quite like the course of the old soldiers. A Sunday afternoon game was played every other week. The Land of the Lakes alternated with the younger Land of Rivers team. Tuesday night games under the lights were played weekly. The park was used, the crowds were large, and the activity was centered in town. I was employed selling soda and popcorn, watching the moves on the field and in the stands. The activity on the stands was sometimes more entertaining than on the field. My heroes were the young guys who were drinking an orange soda, smoking a cigarette, eating popcorn, and talking to a blonde or brunette. That, my friend, was living. The lights were excellent. The infield grass was mowed precisely. The dirt surface was raked to perfection. The lines were lined straight as a fastball, all chores done weekly by a dedicated man named Dell. He was the most tolerant individual I have ever known. He tolerated kids playing on the diamond after his toil to cut the grass and pick up small stones. His attitude encouraged us to pick up stones and help him line the bases. We learned, he taught. The outfield was something else. From the left field to the right field, the ground rose about 12 to 18 inches, and the center fielder was running up or down the hill. Football high school games were played east to west in the outfield, and cagey old Hal Beatty always managed to be going downhill in the fourth quarter. I vividly recall a triple play. The Hartford Land of Lakes played a Waukesha team for the championship. The bases were loaded. A grounder was hit to third base. Monroe threw to the catcher, Roundy Wenzel. Stepped on home, threw to Bob Monroe. Stepped on first, threw home, and Roundy tagged the sliding runner from second. The place went nuts. Hartford won, and the game was replayed for months at Vogelsang's Tavern and every bar which sold beer. All of them did. Names of the ball players included Schaller, Tyson, Monroe's, Wenzel's, Trotter, Schwalbe, Schinners, Baszler, Favor, Lutz Lindert, Smith, DuPont's, and Vogelsang's, and many others. After the game, the game was replayed at Irv's Bowling Alley and a variety of taverns. Beer was consumed, driving casualties happened, and some tragedies occurred. And that, Louie, was the way it was. You might have seen this letter before, but I thought you'd enjoy it again. To remember long ago when we were young. Jim.
The fact that the ball diamond is still being used here is fantastic. It was very busy over there on Sunday when I drove by. They had two teams going. So they're keeping these leagues going. And that's for people that really enjoy the sport and are not going on, obviously, to the majors, but they still want to play. And when they get out of school, this is their opportunity.
Right. It's so small town, or any town in America. It's so American, and just, you can picture it. In the writing, you could just picture and feel what the night might feel like.
All the camaraderie.
Yeah. Right? Lights on the field.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I said to you before we went on camera how descriptive your father is in his writing. I'm really glad that you're keeping this going. It's emotional, but I think it's important.
I do too. The way he says things, I was thinking it should be a lesson for high school writers, because he describes things in a way that's not just describing them. He makes it a story.
He brings in a memory.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That everyone can relate to.
Totally. And I think for me, listening to you read his words, that it immerses you in that moment.
Yes. Yes. You feel like you're there.
Yeah.
And yes, definitely.
So thank you for coming in.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You're welcome. And to our viewers, as always, thank you for watching.